Welcome everybody to Newcastle Borough Council's Cabinet meeting today, joined by Cabinet members and officers in the room and also a councillor in the public gallery. Our Cabinet members today are Councillor Craig Skelding for Leisure, Culture and Heritage, Councillor Jill Heatham, Community Safety and Wellbeing, and Councillor David Hutchins, Sustainable Environment, and sitting on my right is Deputy Leader and Finance and Town Centre, Stephen Sweeney. I'm Councillor Simon Tiger, Leader of the Council. We have an apology today from Councillor Fear. So we'll note those apologies as part of item number 1, and then we'll do item 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any 4 items on the agenda? No. Okay. And then moving to our next item, which is the minutes of the previous meeting from 13th of January. Can we agree those as a correct record?
Agreed.
Okay. That brings us to item 4. First item of real business is the Wallis Quarry update. Obviously, first item on our agenda still, we're in a period of vast improvement concerning last year, if you look at some of the figures within the report, and still going well considering the bad weather. But I'm going to ask our Chief Executive, Gordon, now just to outline the details of the report. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you, Leader. This report is the second, slightly more revised version of the report, recognising that we are now in the move towards restoration with the Environment Agency and their contractors still on site working at the moment. And we've moved out of incident and into the next phase. I would draw your attention to section 2.5 of the report, which does show that hydrogen sulfide levels were briefly raised in mid-January. The Environment Agency and their contractors are and were aware of that. They've been looking for the cause, and it could be one of a number of things related to site activity. The good news in that is that it's not continued beyond that period. And actually, if you look at the correlation with complaints, there were no complaints in that period. So I think the public are recognising that activity is happening on site. And actually, it's been useful to have the Environmental and Site Operations Group as part of the next phase of the multi-agency response in existence for quickly getting together and working through issues such as that. As I've mentioned, we have now officially moved out of incident. Were any serious incident to occur, of course, we would stand up an incident again. And I'm sure, Leader, you'll join me in thanking Glyn Lushny from Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service, who's chaired that group for a number of years. And also is due to become our next Chief Fire Officer. So with that, Leader, I'll stop and pause for any questions.
Well, thank you, Gordon. Yes, I'd like to echo, obviously, Glyn's work as chairing the coordinating group on this has been really important, and that focus which we had, particularly during the very, very bad periods. And as I said at the start, this year now has obviously started off in a much better situation than we were previously. I think we aim for that long-term restoration capping, and that will cost money. And as we said at previous cabinets, and we say at this one, that needs to be funded by the government that gave permission for this in the first place. And also we need that public inquiry as well, and a commitment to a public inquiry so we can find out how this situation got to where it did and the effect it's had on our residents for a number of years. Open it up to comments now, Steve.
First, on an unrelated subject, I'd like to congratulate Glyn on getting the Chief Forester's job. I know Glyn very well, and he's an excellent officer, and I think he'll do a very, very good job replacing Rob Barber, as Rob Barber did, replacing Becky Bryant. No, I think this is good news. It's noticeable across the borough that you just can't smell the stretcher thing anymore. But the elephant in the room is what we always say: is who's going to pay for the restoration? Who's going to pay for it? When are we going to hear about this? And it's like it's being put away to one side, and nobody wants to face up to the fact of where's this money going to come from. And that's the only really comment I've got. The work's going great. It's getting rid of the bloody smell, but at the end of the day, you're talking £20 million. Who's going to pay it?
Thank you, Steve. I think What we need to say also is this council obviously stands ready to react to any issues if there's a deterioration or if we need to take action in the future, and that's why we're keeping in our funds available for legal action. Of course, our only powers are through the abatement notice statutory nuisance area, which of course we were pursuing under the previous operator, and that money remains in that reserve ready for that if we need to use that, but that's not for restoration or capping. But as we are at the moment, steady as she goes. And of course, the Environment Agency are keeping people informed through their website if there is any anticipated problems. Works are being carried out by their contractor, improving the site going forward. The leachate plant being brought back into use soon, hopefully, which will be a godsend for dealing with the odorous water that's on site. And also, there will continue to be engagement with the Environment Agency. We have a political meeting coming up, which all the key partners will be around the table with the Environment Agency in the not too distant future. And of course, we will keep Cabinet updated with our regular reports. But we're asked to note the contents of the report. Should we do that? Thank you. That brings us to item 5, which is our revenue, capital budget and strategies. This is the final time it'll come to Cabinet before we refer it to Council next Wednesday. And Stephen's going to introduce this.
Thank you. Just a brief start, really. Our funding gap this year was £1.599 million that we've had to find. We found that. Not helped by the over £1 million the government's taken office. That's another story. We have an efficiency board we've run for many, many months now, and they've come up with all the savings, and they're all feasible and sustainable. They're just written on the back of a fag paper or anything like that. They're all genuine savings. It's been to finance performance scrutiny twice in December and January. They've looked at it and they come up with no alternatives, no alternative budget, no amendments. It's a 1.99% rise, which is 10 pence a week or less for 95% of the households in the borough. There's no redundancies attached to this. We're still supporting the £250,000 Civic Growth Fund. We've had it out for consultation with the general public, and the subjects they look at, things we should focus on, is town centre regeneration, CCTV, outdoor leisure facilities and outdoor markets. And these are all things that this council looks at and very, very seriously. There's obviously town centre schemes going on at the moment that I think we'll see a transformation in this town centre in the next 2 years. All part of the strategy that we've got. The council's in a financially sustainable position, and I'm very happy to support this budget and put it forward to council.
Thank you, Steve. We'll support you on that. I think it's been through all the rigours that are required, starting really in the summer with the efficiency boards, which have led to those savings and requirements being made. We obviously had as you said, the reduction in funding from the government, the cut from them, which we've taken on the chin and moved forward from, and still managed to balance the budget. And at this point, we do talk more, as you said, about the Civic Pride Fund, which is £250,000 that for the last few years, really, I think since 2018, we've put back in to schemes and initiatives that we want to support the borough. And you'll see in the recommendations there's a proposal to freeze car parking charges this year. And that really is on the back of the council's commitment to supporting vibrant town centres. And of course, we charge only really for the car parks in Newcastle town centre. This is a measure that will hopefully help the town. I think it's the motion we put through, which got cross-party support, indicated we wanted to support our businesses. So we're doing our bit then. And I think if we look back over many, many years parking at this council, the increases have been minuscule. We've frozen sometimes. We've introduced new measures such as the £1 after one, which has stayed at £1 since it was brought in 2018. So you can come into town after 1 o'clock and park into the evening time for just £1. And we're also introducing the free nipper parking down by the market end of South High Street, which is for a limited period, but will allow people to nip into town if they're required to do. We can do this through the Civic Pride Growth Fund this year, as well as doing all the other things we can do through that, such as also one of the recommendations is to freeze the outside sports charges, which I think will help our bid to be a town of culture, because sport is a major part of that as well, and culture and activities. So we intend to do that as well. But coming back to the car parking, I think a lot of people, I see it on social media. I know once this is announced that we froze our parking charges, as we were just outlining, there'll be a call for why are they not free? Why can we not reduce and open the car parks to 3? I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm sure Stephen could talk more about the effect of what that would have of probably residents from around the town centre or parking in our car parks for free 24 hours a day, which would then not allow many shoppers in, but that's another point. But I think also a lot of people don't realise is that the council has to pay business rates to the government on all of our car parks, each of them throughout the borough, and that comes to this year with increases through the business rate rises to £167,000 per year just to keep the car parks open. That is not even taking into account the maintenance of them. We just spent many thousands of pounds resurfacing the School Street car park next to J2, so those maintenance issues as well. And I think it's just something people really need to know about. And I think also we need to, if we're going to support our town centres with reducing parking charges and offering more initiatives for free parking, those business rates need to be reduced or even waived completely. So what I'm proposing to do is that we write to our MP and ask him to take up the cause for that. We've got car parks across this town centre, Hassel Street, Nutton Lane, Blackfriars, Silverdale Road, the Newcastle car park, which costs £82,000 in business rates to the government, and others which we all know of across this town centre. So if Cabinet will support, obviously using the Borough Growth Fund to the Civic Pride Growth Fund to freeze parking charges, and also write to our local MP asking him to influence the government in reducing or scrapping business rates on car parks. We are also writing to the Chancellor on the back of the motion that came to Council on our town centres, and we'll include a line about that to the Chancellor as well. So I'll open that up to comments and debate. Those are the recommendations in the report. We will forward the budget to Council next Wednesday, but also introduce those freezes for car park charges and also the initiative for freezing outside sports charges. Steve.
Obviously, completely support all this. Free parking is a mantra that we hear a lot, and yeah, ideal world we do it. But if I live in a terrace street in Newcastle and there's free car parking, I'll just park on the town centre car park. Where are customers going to park? If I was working in the town centre, I'd park on the car parks for nothing. So where are customers going to park? You know, you've got to do a balance against the two things. The £80,000 for the Newcastle car park. That money's got to be paid by somebody. Should it be paid by the users who use the car park, or should it be paid by the council tax people in general who may never use it, may never have a car, but they've got to pay for it? So that's a balance we take. I think the sporting things is an excellent idea. I think you know, rugby, football, things like that is something to be encouraged. I think it's the new Newcastle Town Football Club run umpteen children's teams to get them off street corners, give them something to do, and I think it's just something that we should encourage, and I absolutely totally support it. Thanks, Sam.
David.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I echo everything that Councillor Sweeney's just said. It's really encouraging to see that the car park charges have been frozen for this year to boost the footfall into the Newcastle Borough Town Centre. It's also very encouraging to see that we've created the free nipper parking in the South High Street section. It's a shame there's no contribution from central government to promote car parking in our town centres. And as you said, Leader, I note the business rates for the car parks is currently 167,000 for this year. And I support your decision to write to the MP to get a review of our business rates for our car parks, so that we can encourage town centre football. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Craig.
Thank you, Leader. I think Councillor Hutchinson's just covered a lot of what I had got to say. So just a brief comment, really. I welcome the freeze on car parking charges. In my ward of Kidsgrove, we have had the privilege of free parking under our administration for quite some time now. But I do appreciate that sometimes a lot will go such a far way. And with the freeze on car parking charges in the town centre, it'll hopefully encourage residents to visit our town centre and enjoy the wonderful town. I think with ease of access, cheap parking, more people can come and see what a great town and what Newcastle has to offer. So thank you.
Jill.
Yes, I echo what my colleagues say, that the freeze on car parking is going to be really good for the town centre. It's not very often you get something for nothing, as it were, and everywhere else prices are rising with cost of living. But I'd also like to say that with the halt, if you like, on sports, I just think I know we've gone on about football, we've gone on about rugby, but you've also got to think about other sports like tennis, and I think it just encourages people into sport, particularly when they don't have to pay over the odds for it. And Thistleberry as well, I've just had planning permission to have a cafe there and a sitting area. So again, that will encourage more people to take part.
Thank you, Jill. I think using the Civic Pride Growth Fund, formerly the Borough Growth Fund, just while we keep getting the words mixed up around it, it's been renamed the Civic Pride to tie in with our Civic Pride campaign, which is gaining momentum across the borough. We can use that £250,000 to enable things which will help economic situation in the town, help more business to become established, etc., and businesses to thrive. Also, we use that for environmental improvements. It's used for tree planting and all sorts of things. We've even used it for improving the car parks in the past as well, by purchasing new parking machines and cashless options to help people to be able to pay those small car parking charges more easily when they come into the town. And we'll continue to use that fund. It was an innovation that was brought in, many years ago by this administration, wasn't it? And it's something we've kept going throughout. I think what we will see as we approach the budget meeting next Wednesday is I will outline at the budget meeting more of how we're going to allocate that money within the Civic Pride Fund for the benefit of the borough, and also to help the council achieve its objectives. So we have the recommendations before us that we refer the budget a 1.99% low council tax increase for the fifth year running, and that we also forward the various strategies that are attached as well. And then those recommendations relating to the Civic Growth Fund, particularly that we use that to freeze the car parking charges and also to freeze outside sports charges as well this year. And then we recommend that goes to, that the budget as a whole goes to council next Wednesday. All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That brings us to item 6, which is the Finance and Performance Review Report. First part of that is finance, Steve, so over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll say what I always say on this. We're £3,000 underspent at the moment on the revenue budget, and we're looking to that to be £4,000 underspent by the end of the year. This is the end of period 3. Quarter 3 rather. So at the end of the year, we're looking at £4,000 underspent, which I think is a good position for this council. Now, it was queried a while ago that we didn't put enough information on here. So we put absolutely everything we can find on here to help our members sort of understand what's going on. Nothing's hidden on this council. We're an open and transparent council. It's all there for them to look at, and I'm happy to support this as well.
Okay, thank you, Steve. That brings us to the indicators and performance indicators. As usual, we'll go through the sections and ask cabinet members to comment. First is the priority of one council delivering for local people. Generally, all the indicators, I think, Steve, are in the right direction for you and for me. We've got the average number of days employees lost to sickness have ticked up during December as sickness rose. I think we have gone through a period of the pre-Christmas bugs. I think everybody had that before Christmas, didn't they? And they run into that. But also there are other issues that our officers are looking into. And we have mechanisms in place which have worked previously to enable us to keep obviously the rate of sickness down. And I'm sure our officers are concentrating on achieving that. Moving on, Steve, anything to mention on yours?
I'd like to say about I'd like to point out the time taken to process housing benefit, the percentage of council tax collected, and percentage of national non-domestic rates. They're all good green figures. Now, when we took over this administration, there were good green figures there, but they cost infinitely more staffing-wise to do this. But the one council approach we've got has kept the standards up, kept the figures good, but the cost of people doing it is vastly reduced. And this goes to show this council's attitude to looking at things, to do things a different way, can make it a better way as well. So save money, the residents get the same service. It's really a successful story, and something I'm very proud of in this council, the way we've done this. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Steve. Agree with you on that. There's a red on relating to total number of digital online transactions. I think, as we've talked about before, what we have now is the citizens' access for transactions, which self-service for our customers is meaning there are less on clicks onto various other parts of the website. So I think we need to look at that indicator next time they're refreshed, and actually it turns into being a bit of a positive, I think, because it means that people are dealing with the concerns they've got, first point of contact online, and those transactions have grown to 722 compared with over 722 compared with the previous year. So probably that's a better indicator, I think, of probably where we're going with online transactions. Moving on then to David's area, if you want to cover both recycling and street scene at the same time, that'd be good.
The premises, I want to it's like just to the next page. Here we are. Yeah, and we slightly dipped on the recycling percent. 47.65% of everything we collected was recycled. It's dipped below the 50%, unfortunately. But then we did have a really, really dry summer, a hot, dry summer. So the amount of garden waste collected fell. Good news is that the dry recycling has gone up 1.5%. And also the food waste recycling has gone up 7%. So that's really encouraging. I think over the Christmas period, we found that a lot of people kept hold of the food waste and then they put it out. So we did see an upturn in that, which is really exciting. Green again for the amount collected from the curbside. Household collections are down below, again, good green. The good one here is that percentage of successful collections was 99.98%. That's improved from 99.97% the previous quarter. Going on to the street scene, everything is shown as 100%. So it's the litter, the detritus, the graffiti, everything is looking good for the street scene figures as well. Thank you, Leader.
I think, David, at this stage is to pass our thanks as a cabinet to the staff that worked through the bad weather we had recently. We had the snow episodes, didn't we, beginning of January? Let's hope that's it now. Obviously, there was threatened more snow, but that hasn't come our way, and we're into February now, so fingers crossed. But just rains all the time now, doesn't it? But if you could pass on the thanks to the officers for the work that was done on that and the catch-up that was required. It wasn't, obviously, nobody's 100% happy, but I think what we did was get things up and running as quickly as possible, and the staff worked on Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays as well during that period to ensure that everybody got a collection, so that's really encouraging. Craig, next, please.
Thank you, Leader. If we start off with the museum, we've got continued growth in people accessing the museum in person. We've achieved a 52,129 mark against a target of 45,000. The museum offers a fantastic schedule of events and exhibitions, and currently they're showing an exhibition by a guy called Rob Pointer, which is proving successful and well received. I do urge people to go and see this. This is one that's worth putting on the list if you make it up to the museum. On the separate side of it, school bookings are on the increase. We've had to take on some more temporary staff to cover the demand, so that's all moving in the right direction, and giving a bit of added income to residents of the borough as well, providing a few more hours to help them on the way. Jubilee 2 customer satisfaction hit a mark of 79.25 against a target of 75%. We are currently undergoing some extensive repairs and maintenance work at the museum. We managed to minimise disruption to members, and all the galas pre-Christmas went ahead on schedule. We do have a follow-up project through the Salix funding to replace gas boilers with air-sourced heat pumps and backup boilers. This will help to future-proof the site against rising energy costs and help sustain the site as a leasing facility in the leisure sector. Membership KPI on this has been suspended due to the major refurbishments pre-mentioned on site. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Yes, Steve.
Yeah, just like to say that I went to the museum on Sunday, and I sat in a full house, tickets only, actually sold out talk on there, Newcastle before the Charter, which was absolutely fascinating. And I also went to the exhibition, the marvellously skillful man, but the place was full. It was rammed. It was really, really good to see. And I think Councillor Fear is doing 6 talks on 6 different Roman emperors starting this Friday. And I'd encourage anybody to go to those. The guy who was doing the talk was very fulsome in his praise of Councillor Fear, and also Councillor Studd, later this man that we know, who was an early medieval history historian. So I absolutely recommend these things, and go to the museum and have a look at it. It's really, really good.
Thank you, Steve. And then now on to Jill and your portfolio.
I'd just like to echo the comments about the Brampton Museum. I went to the opening event for Rob Poynton. It's a really, really good exhibition. I'm going to have to go back because I didn't have enough time to see it all, really, with the amount of people there. But I'd encourage anybody to go. And it's not just his own paintings that are there. He encouraged other people to join him on wherever he was painting every day in January. And they've got an exhibition for those as well. So going on to my portfolio, there's a couple of them that I do want to focus on. With the antisocial behaviour, we do continue to work with partners to reduce antisocial behaviour and to ensure complaints are dealt with effectively, efficiently and timely. It is quite positive to see open cases are reducing. We've got 19 open in the last quarter, which is quite encouraging. The Vulnerability Hub continues to have a high number of complex cases with a broad range of vulnerabilities, supporting our most vulnerable residents through the impact of the rising cost of living. Again, it's encouraging to see the number of referrals made at the Daily Hub, and well done to the team for managing it so well. You know, we do have to offer any of our residents that need support. We need to be doing that in a timely manner before it gets to any kind of a critical stage. And disabled facilities grants, we took it over a couple of years ago with quite a big backlog, and it's really good now to see that they are being handled in quite timely way. We've had 19 out of 26 disability facility grants or facilities completed within 120 days, so that is really, really well done.
Thank you, Jill. And that brings us to the last of the portfolio updates, which is for the town centre for all. Those are the indicators on car park usage, town centre footfall and occupancy of markets. I think on car parking, as you can see in the comments there, it looks as if we have talked about at Cabinet where the car parking, new car park coming on stream, etc. And the changes that were made did affect the usage and the number of tickets purchased, but the recovery is obviously there to see in the third quarter when you look at it from last year. So that's really encouraging. Footfall, I think we rely on the data from external here, so there is debates about how that's calculated and whether that's accurate or not, and there is no historic data to go against neither on that, and it's something which we really can't. That's why it's in a blue instead of one of our indicators. And then we come to the market, Steve, which of course is above target for market occupancy.
Yes, it is. The markets are going well, as you'd expect them to say. Also, the car parking, we had a terrible first quarter, and that's what dragged us down. And we're pigging that back now. It is coming back. But no, the markets are excellent. Again, I'd recommend anybody come down. Average store occupancy is doing well. I think the new TV screen. I think in summer, obviously it's a bit cold at the moment to sit out and watch television, but I think in the summer months, I think it'll be a major asset to the town centre, not just for advertising, but for films, for I don't know, whatever you want to put on it. Really, I think it's a sport. You put a test match on or something like that. Sit outside watching it. No, I think it's an excellent addition to the town centre, and long may it continue. Thank you.
Of course, World Cup year this year. That's the big sport event this year, so hopefully it'll be used for that. So thank you for Cabinet members. I think a good overall picture, 82% of performance indicators on target with those new indicators we brought in, which were more challenging as well. Some work still to be done on others, but I think direction is good on a lot of them as well. So thank you for that. And I've just forgotten to talk about the planning area, which of course Andy, Councillor Fear would have talked about. And I think in that area, we've seen planning enforcement performance improve. Last quarter reaching 88.2% against the 75% target, showing that the new procedures that have been brought in by the planning team are clearly working. The annual figure still reflects earlier performance, but the current direction of travel is very positive. On appeals, relates to major applications, which is tipped over 10% threshold on the last reporting period. But with such a small number of major applications, it only takes 1 or 2 decisions to affect that indicator. And steps already in place to include, which of course is including training for member planning and also monitoring report very closely by our team on the applications that come forward. So overall, as Andy would say, I'm sure there's a steady area for him built on a strong footing for planning of getting applications sorted, getting them through, and also listening to people's objections and making sure they have an input into the applications and the results that come through, whether that's permit or whether they are not permitted. So that's the last area. Shouldn't we leave that one out? I'm sure Andy would be talking about that if he was here. So can we agree that we've obviously scrutinised and talked about the performance data? Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That brings us then to item 7, which is an update on local government reorganisation. We obviously submitted as a council our proposals for a Newcastle unitary based on the existing borough boundaries in November. We are now awaiting the start of the consultation. We are obviously part of that consultation. The 5 proposals that have been put forward by Staffordshire councils. One of those is our proposal, and that will be in the consultation that I believe starts later in the month. Yep. Even later in the week, perhaps, and look out for that. Will be publicised around so that people can have their say, particularly if they support a Newcastle unitary. So Cabinet is looking today to set up a Cabinet panel, an inquiry panel to aid the Cabinet in the future on putting together its response and also to monitor the Council's work towards dealing with this local government reorganisation if it is forced through by this Labour government. We're also setting aside, unfortunately, £800,000 on top of the, I believe it's a couple of £100,000 we've already put aside for this, which is money which could be better spent on other things. But the government is obsessed with its drive for local government reorganisation, and that is obviously means we have to also put money aside for this. We believe that the 2-tier county system, which has worked well for Newcastle Borough and the rest of the county, should continue, but this government wishes to pursue other means. So what we will set up is a Cabinet panel that will enable it as a cross-party group to scrutinise the MPs, for example. We do have a gap there on what our MPs think, whether they're what proposals they support. Perhaps questioning them will help us to be able to get to the bottom of that. And I think it's important that we also look at the latest government's policies and initiatives that are coming forward around local government reorganisation and how we can best make them work for Newcastle, particularly if we have a Newcastle unitary, and if we don't and we're forced to merge into Stoke, which is the Labour's proposal in Stoke, then we need to be able to ensure that Newcastle's corner is fought in those negotiations that will ensue. One thing I must say is that obviously our elections, as confirmed, will go ahead in May. There's no reason to cancel those because at the moment we are obviously awaiting the results of what the government want to do with the local government reorganisation. The consultation, which indicated will start later in the week and run throughout February and into March, is not run by this council, it's run by the government, and it will only be in the summer when we will finally know whether they wish to proceed with local government organisation, what the unitary boundaries will be, or if there's going to be a delay, how long the delay will be, that the work of this council will then kick in then, as it will for all councils. So it was quite shocking when we saw that locally, Labour councillors in Tamworth and Cannock had applied for their elections to be cancelled. They were due to have elections on May the 7th, the same as us, for the reasons of they were under so much work and pressure through local government reorganisation that they couldn't possibly hold elections. Well, when the government before Christmas put out that offer to cancel elections, I sat down with our chief executive and we went through what work was required for local government organisation, and none of it would be impacting on the elections or vice versa. So there was no reason to cancel those elections. We've reached the end of our 4-year terms in May, and it's quite right that we asked the people of Newcastle to elect us again for what would minimum be a 2-year term. But we've seen from the minister who's in charge of local government organisations that she's saying it's very optimistic timescale to bring the new unitary councils forward to start in 2028. So it's very likely that there may be an extension to this council's or even a continuation of this council going forward without any local government organisation if the government runs out of steam or has to call an election before then. Hopefully a new government will come and will take a different view. So I think the recommendations before us are putting us really in a position where we can respond when we know what the government wants to do with local government reorganisation, so we can fight Newcastle's corner, hopefully in a Newcastle unitary, if not in whatever the government imposes upon us. And that also we set up this cabinet panel, which will be cross-party under the chairmanship of myself as leader of the council, to scrutinise the government's plans for local government organisation going forward. So I'll open it up now to comments and questions. Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree entirely with you. I think cancelling elections is utterly scandalous. Whatever political party is doing it, I think it's absolutely appalling. And using the excuse that we're too busy doing this forced local government is just nonsense. I think it's absolutely appalling. What I would be interested in is the MP's view on all this, because he's been busy with his little team of comrades putting a newsletter out around the borough, and I don't believe it mentions this. Now, this and Wally's Quarry, I think, are probably the two biggest issues that he's got. And I don't think on this newsletter he even mentions it, which I think is remiss of him, and I think it's probably the reason why he's not done it. One of our residents I know has written to him and asked him what his view is on forced local government reorganisation, and she's not had a response. And I wonder why that might be. So I think it'd be an excellent idea to have this panel set up, and an excellent idea to have the MP in front of us so we can ask him these questions and see what his answer is. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. David.
Yeah, totally agree with Councillor Sweeney. We need to get the MP's comments on the forced local government reorganisation. Yeah, definitely go ahead. Try and get the MP to comment, and let's see what he's got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And of course, the MP has already voted twice for local government reorganisation, which includes the obviously the unitarisation and possible scrapping and merger of our borough if one of the proposals were to get through. But I think what's really important is that we made the decision. It was united approach across the council of members that were there, that we would support a submission for a Newcastle unitary. That has gone in. We are in the consultation that goes forward by the government. So I encourage all residents of Newcastle to take part in that consultation. We will be advertising the link to that when it starts. It will be an online consultation, and we must get as many people as possible to go. And we have a petition to save our borough, which is now well over 10,500 people have signed that, and I think it's really important that those people have their say, and I'll certainly be making sure that those people that have signed that petition are aware of this consultation to go forward, so they can have their views, and that the government hopefully will listen, but there's not such a good record of that happening elsewhere when consultations have been had on this, and I think it's democracy matters, and elections matter, and in this borough we are obviously putting local democracy first, local governance first, and that's why we put our proposals in as it is, and that's why we've agreed that the elections should go ahead. But I think it's completely, as you said, Steve, disgraceful that council leaders and chief executives and cabinets can have a say on whether an election goes ahead or not, and that's what's happened in Cannock and Tamworth, hasn't it? I'm only talking about Staffordshire. Let's not talk about anywhere else. They made a decision on a reason which we believe is not proper, to dodge the elections and run away from the electorate. When some of their councillors that are up for election have done a 4-year term, they should be re-elected again, no matter what the result is. It is the right thing to do, and that's why we've taken that position. So we've got the recommendations before us that we note the forthcoming consultation start imminently, and we establish the cross-party local government organisation cabinet panel, and that we note and endorse the work that's undertaken so far, and we note also that £800,000 which is to be put aside for work on this this thing. And then we also note the acknowledgement and receipt of the council's intention to hold elections in May 2026. All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That brings us then to item number 8, which is our forward plan. And we'll go through that as usual. We've got the first 2 pages which cover today's meeting, and then we've obviously got another meeting in March, on March the 17th, where we'll be looking at items such as irrecoverable debts. We'll be also looking at Wallace Quarry update again, of course, and approval of the health and safety monitoring contract, Nutton Lane depot refurbishment, and also renewal of the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement and the Civica app for regulatory services, implementation of the Renters' Right Act, and then, of course, that Wallace Quarry update. So a busy cabinet again for us in March. Do we agree the forward plan? Great. Thank you. That leads us to item number 9, which is urgent business. I don't have any. Item 10 is disclosure of exempt information. We don't have any confidential items. So that concludes the meeting today. Thank you for attending.